Hey, what up, everybody? It's your shorty Rachel. I hope all of y'all is having a blessed and humble day. Today, I wanted to take a minute and talk about why can't all states, all cities, all counties pass the castration law. They have only 9 states. They just passed Alabama not so long ago. I think it was last year. The castration law on the books. Those states are California, Florida, Iowa, Georgia, Louisiana, Montana, Oregon, Texas, Wisconsin, and now Alabama. Here are some interesting points about the differences between their castration laws. Only 9 U.S. states have chemical castration laws on the books. I already read to y'all the castration laws, right? California was the first U.S. state to specify the use of chemical castration for repeat child molesters as a condition of their parole. The law requires that no one may refuse the treatment if they were convicted of a sex crime with a minor under the age of 13 while on parole for a prior sex crime, but do they have the right to choose surgical castration? I believe it should be all the way up to 17, but let's keep going. In Iowa, just like in California and Florida, offenders can be sentenced to chemical castration in all cases involving serious sex offenses. The U.S. territory of Guam in the Western Pacific also allows voluntary chemical castration, although the procedure has never actually been requested. Despite its long history and established use, the drugs used in chemical castration, namely medroxyprogesterone acetate, MPA, has never been approved by the FDA for use as a treatment for sexual offenders. Y'all. Alright, before I keep going, I'm not showing my face today. I'm just going to read what I got to read, and I hope that y'all understand where I'm coming from and why I'm reading this. What is Michigan's viewpoint on chemical castration? We've had a lot of controversy over the years regarding the unconstitutional restrictions of Michigan's sex offenders registry, but the one thing we don't have to contend with is controversy of chemical or surgical castration. In fact, in 1984, Michigan's Court of Appeals held that mandating chemical castration as a condition of probation was unlawful. The reasons they gave the opinion was MPA hadn't yet been determined as being safe and reliable. It still hasn't, and also because there were issues in obtaining, getting informed consent under the circumstances. Our opinion hasn't changed since. The value of chemical castration remains controversial because it often does not leave the offender impotent or without any liability. Protect your rights here in Michigan. Michigan requires convicted sex offenders to undergo chemical castration, but we're not out of the woods yet. When it comes to violating people's constitutional rights, although Michigan was recently given 90 days to get their act together and address or non-constitutional sex offender registry restrictions, and it hasn't actually happened yet. So if you happen to be accused of a sex crime in Michigan, including Lansing, Kalamazoo, Midland, or Sugatak, I hope I said it right, you're going to need help fighting to protect your rights. Don't try to do it alone because you won't win. Call the Kronzak firm. Y'all get that part right there. So that right there is one little, a little info they got right here on Google. Right here it talks about Alabama chemical castration law explained. Let's see. Alabama's law forcing sex offenders to get chemically castrated, and the law is supposed to keep children safe. Critics say it won't work. Let's see. I wish they passed this law everywhere. The Alabama State House in Montgomery, Alabama. Okay, that's pictured on May 15, 2019. A new Alabama law will require some sex offenders to undergo chemical castration, a forced medical treatment that critics say is both inhumane and ineffective. The law, signed by Republican Governor Kay Ivey on Monday, requires people convicted of sex crimes against a child under 13, which, again, in my own opinion, I believe that they should be charged all the way up to if they commit a sex crime against a child from the ages of 17 and under. But let's keep reading. Under the age of 13 to become chemical castration treatment before their release. According to CNN, they must continue the treatment, which consists of drugs designed to dampen a person's sex drive, until a court rules they can stop. Ivey described the law as step forward protecting children in Alabama, but critics of the law say it violates Alabama's rights by forcing them to alter their body chemistry against their will. How about when they force a child to do something against their will, or when they have a child thinking that they're doing something and it is okay when it is not okay? Their body is their temple, and no man or woman should take any child's innocence. But let's keep going. But critics of the law say it violates Alabama's rights by forcing them to alter their body chemistry against their will. The chemical castration bill is a violation of the 8th Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. How is that cruel? Isn't it cruel when the pedophile or the rapist is taking someone against their will and doing things to them that it is not wanted against them? Or when they are manipulating a situation or a person, or the person in the situation to think that what they're going through is okay. Mental and physical abuse, it is not okay, y'all. I don't know what people are thinking. Violation of the 8th Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Is a punishment when you're taking a child's innocence. Dylan Nestor, a policy analyst for the American Civil Liberties Union of Alabama, told Vox the ACLU is considering a legal challenge to the law. State legislations around the county have passed chemical castration bill in an effort to keep sex offenders from reoffending, but Iowa, like the one in Alabama, are misguided, said Dr. Renee Sorrento, a forensic psychiatric in Massachusetts, to prescribe chemical castration because the process is only effective in some sex offenders and needed to be complied with therapy and medical evaluation. Meanwhile, Alabama was already receiving nationwide attention after Governor Ivey signed a law last month banning abortion at all stages of pregnancy with no expectations for rape or incest. Opponents of the chemical castration law says it's hypocritical that the state wants to castrate sex offenders but not allow people who get pregnant from rape to get abortions. According to Nestor, both laws are part of the pattern of stripping people of their constitutional rights in Alabama. And I agree on that part with them. Listen. If a female ends up being pregnant due to a rape, if she wants to keep the child or doesn't want to keep the child, is up to her. That is her body. How she feels, can't nobody tell her. What's going on in her head, can't nobody tell her. Like, only her and time can help. But I believe that if somebody believes that they cannot have this baby because it is consumed due to a rape or a molestation, they have every right to not have this baby. Why bring a baby into this world to suffer the same thing that you have suffered? I'm just saying it because in certain situations when the parent says they cannot bring this baby into this world and they cannot abort this baby or give this baby in for adoption, this baby suffers 10 times more, y'all. But I believe that every sex offender, every pedophile, every rapist, every molester should get castrated. Female or male. I don't know how a female would get castrated. I would like to understand that a little more and, figure out how that works. But if you're a female and you have committed an offense, molested a boy, raped a boy, or, I can go deeper. you need to be medically castrated. Okay, people who get pregnant from a rape to get abortions. According to Netherlands, both laws are part of a pattern of stripping people of their constitutional rights in Alabama. Alabama becomes one of the several states with chemical castration laws on the book. They need to pass this. I can't get no justice by any means necessary. I have 3 kids that I care about. But if the person that did what they did to me when I was younger can get this done to them, then justice is served. But I believe that their castration should be chopped off. Even if you're a female, somehow, some way, it should be chopped off. Alabama becomes one of the several states with chemical castration law on the books. Alabama's law, HB 379, passed the state legislatures in May. The law requires anyone convicted of a sex offense against someone under 13 to start chemical castration treatment at least a month prior to release or parole, according to CNN, and to continue until the court determines the treatment is no longer necessary. The law requires offenders to pay for their own treatment, though it says that they cannot be denied parole solely for inability to pay. Chemical castration treatment can cost up to $1,000 a month for the medication alone, Toronto said. The law's sponsor, Republican State Rep Steve Hurst, has been hoping to pass such legislation for almost 15 years, according to local news network WBRC. I prefer to be a surgical because the way I look at it, if they're going to mark these children for life, they need to be marked for life. If he folded the network, my preference would be if someone does a small infant child like that, they need to die. Listen, I feel the same way. If a grown man or a grown woman molests or rapes a child, a baby, an infant, and takes their innocence like that, since we can't go for an eye, tongue for a tongue, and I could just keep going, what is wrong with castrating them? Hurst has not responded to Volk's request for comment on the law. Alabama will become one of the 8 states and territories to authorize chemical castration for sex offenders, according to the USA Today, including California, Iowa, and Texas, though not all the states make the treatment mandatory. Doctors and human rights groups say Alabama's law is misguided. Chemical castration was developed as a more humane and reversible alternative to surgical castration for sex offenders, Serrano said. The treatment is usually delivered by injection every month on every 90 days and consists of several medications that reduce male patients' testosterone to prepubescent levels. I know I said that word. Prepubescent levels, whatever. Castration can help some sex offenders from re-offending, Serrano said. Research on surgical castration has shown it to be effective in reducing reproductive, whatever that said. When it comes to chemical castration, some people even requested treatment. People who have committed sex offenses and those who are worried they might act on their sexual attraction to children frequently call Serrano seeking treatment, she said. But the treatment has many potential side effects, including hair loss, breast growth, weight gain, diabetes, and bone loss. Patients need thorough explanation of these side effects in addition to medical evaluation to determine if the treatment is safe for them. Serrano said, and not all states that require chemical castration provide for that. Moreover, chemical castration isn't appropriate for all sex offenders. There are multiple reasons for engaging in sexual offenses against children, Serrano said, only ones of which is pedophilic interest for people who abuse children simply because of opportunity, as the case in some crimes of incest, or because they have antisocial personality disorder. Lowering their testosterone is not going to solve the problem. The treatment also does not work on women, who are about 7% of registered sex offenders. Wow. Overall, mandated chemical castration laws are misguided from a medical perspective, Serrano said. In Alabama, the way that the law is set up, it is that not going to deliver protect. It is that it's not going to deliver protection. Survivors' right advocates have also criticized the Alabama law legislation like HB 379 can undermine more effective policies for sex offenders treatment because it is looking for people who sexually offend as though they are the same, said Laura Palamo, Communications Director of the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. Meanwhile, Nieto, the ACLU policy analyst, argues that the law consists cruel and unusual punishment by forcing people to alter their body chemistry as a condition of parole. He compared the law to medieval punishment like eye gouging. They deserve that too. That's one article on that. What to know about Alabama's chemical law. Other states that have castration provisions in their laws include Florida, Louisiana, and Wisconsin of state chemical laws. Alabama is the latest state to use drugs to try to reduce recidivism amongst offenders. Governor Kay Owley, Alabama, has signed a so-called chemical castration measure into law. Her office announced on Monday leaving the state posed to set the stringent new parole condition for certain sex offenders. Supporters of the law contend that will enhance public safety and reduce the risk of convicted sex offenders committing similar crimes once they are released from prison. But critics of the law, which will take effect in September, think it may prove unconstitutional. State legislatures are moving sharply. Here are a guide. Okay, what is a chemical castration? Chemical castration involves using a drug to reduce testosterone levels and affect the sex drive. American doctors have been using medroprogesteron acetate. I hope I said it right. The protocol expeded to the use of Alabama to treat sex offenders for more than 50 years. The new law requires people who are convicted of certain sex offenders, including rape, sodomy, incest, involving victims younger than 13, to receive chemical castrations as a term of parole. Under the measure, the Alabama Department of Public Health will oversee the procedures which parole will pay for, and parole will continue receiving treatment until the court determines. Whew, this is crazy. Alright, y'all, this is a little bit. I just wanted to keep y'all on an update. I believe that all states should pass this law, and it should be for all sex offenders. Let me know what y'all think about it, if y'all agree, if y'all don't, and if y'all don't, why. This is y'all Shorty. I hope that y'all have a blessed and humble morning, and I hope that y'all continue to have a blessed and humble morning. Until next time.